For Boxing Social in association with Betfred. We're in Greater Manchester. I'm delighted to be joined by Jaime Moore. Huge United fan, mate. Obviously, with last week, but you were at Everton yesterday. Just tell me what a good result for your team, mate.
Yeah, great result for us, Everton. Good atmosphere. Weather was crap, but decent enough performance. Just need someone up front to put them in the back of the net because it could have been 5 or 6.
Well, what about Ronaldo? 700th goal. Quite an achievement, that, wasn't it?
Of course it was. Yeah, of course it was. I think he's not been playing regularly, so he's a little bit off the mark last night. But yeah, he's still got it.
Last time I was here, the McCaskill fight wasn't announced, but now we do have it. Abu Dhabi, mate. First of all, when that came, the announcement came. What was your thoughts, mate?
Oh, buzzing for Chantel. She was getting a little bit frustrated by the situation. Obviously, Cali Reese, for whatever reason, was unable to fulfil the obligation of the undisputed final. So I'm just glad that Eddie's been able to work it, and obviously timing's everything. And it was only because Jessica's moving or wanted to move back down, and the position she was in at the weight above, which has allowed this to sort of the governing bodies to accept this for Calories to give the vacant titles up and then for it to be undisputed at the weight below. So yeah, it's all worked out for us. It's actually, I think it's a better fight and it's a more difficult fight than the Calories fight, but these are the types of fights which will bring the best out in Chantel.
Definitely, and I think it's an exciting fight with their styles as well, and it is for all the belts. But yeah, it is a huge fight, and like I said, those styles do make fights, Jamie.
Yeah, it's a better fight. That's what I mean. It's a better fight for the fans. It's a tougher test, I feel, for Chantel. Stylistically, I feel like Callie Reese was pretty much made for her. I've got a funny feeling that this is going to be, even though it'd be more difficult in terms of the physicality of it, I think she might be more dominant in the fight because Jessica's aggressive, ferocious, but I think that'll lead her into problems with Chantel. I don't think she respects Chantel in the way she should, and I think that could be her undoing.
Yeah, I spoke to Chantel a moment ago. There is mutual respect there. Her respect towards Jessica in terms of how she fights. But going into this fight, with obviously her coming down, who is the favourite, you think, in this fight?
I'd say the bookies will probably have McCaskill a slight favourite because of experience. But in my book, I feel like looking at Chantel and looking at performances, she's never really got out of second gear. You know, Mary McGee probably pushed her physically as hard as she's been pushed as a pro, but even that, it was quite wide. Even though the rounds most of the rounds were competitive, she sort of run away with it. So I know that Jessica's going to give her a tough fight. I know it's going to be physically difficult, but I don't think she's got what it takes to beat someone like Chantel, and I can't see anyone in or around the division troubling her.
Chantel has wanted this fight for a while. She was mandatory for Jessica, I think, 2 years ago. It would have been just for, I think, the WBC at the time. Yeah. Now it is for all the belts. You know, things happen in strange ways, Jamie. Things have all come together.
Yeah, Chantel was the type of fighter. She was a mandatory at lightweight for Katie Taylor and at super lightweight because we never got the feeling we was going to get the Katie Taylor fight. It was a lot of risk and not enough reward from Katie's point of view. So from a business point of view, I understand it. And the same applied with Jessica. So Jessica gave the belt up, moved up to welterweight, become undisputed. But now Chantel's established herself. You know, Eddie's got her opportunities, created the tournament, Road to Undisputed. She's got Ring Magazine belt now and IBF and WBC. So after this, it'll make sense for Katie Taylor to fight her because it would be undisputed versus undisputed. It wasn't, the risk reward didn't work out. Jessica moved up because she was probably thinking, this is a really difficult mandatory defence, whereas I can have an easier fight if I move up to welterweight. Now that's happened, she's undisputed at the weight above. Chantel's a unified champion at the weight down below. Now, you know, when you look at it from a business point of view now, Jessica's coming back down, probably get 3, 4, 5 times as much money to fight Chantel as she would have 5 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. So it makes sense.
So that's the fight. Let's say next then you're hoping for if all goes to plan on November 6th.
Well, where else do you go? You're undisputed champion in your weight division. You either go up and challenge the next best one there. Well, that was Jessica McGaskill.
Yeah.
So the next biggest challenge is Katie Taylor, who's the weight below. So, do you have the discussion about does Chantel move back down to lightweight? Because the only reason she moved to super lightweight was to get the world title and try and create opportunities for herself. She didn't have to move up. Or does Katie move up and challenge Chantel to try and become a 2-weight undisputed world champion? That's a phenomenal fight, and obviously let's not overlook Jessica McGaskill. God, no. We would never do that. But, you have to sort of have these dreams and ambitions if you want to fulfill your potential and be the best in the world. And Chantel comes out on top against Jessica, then that's a huge fight.
It's Chantel's first time out in Dubai, both as a professional and obviously leisure-wise. You've been out there before. How much are you looking forward to going back out there, Jamie?
Yeah, obviously. Well, Abu Dhabi's just 50 minutes up the road or so. But the Middle East is he's creating a real hub for boxing. I was out there with Carl, I've been out there with Rocky. And yeah, it's fantastic. I didn't get to go out there. Stephen Ward did an exhibition over there with Big Thor, and I didn't get to go out there. But yeah, it's really building a good reputation for boxing, and obviously it's a better scene, better scenery than over here where it's raining.
Someone that you want on the undercard, Akib Fiaz. Are we likely to get an announcement with this?
Yeah, it's looking positive. I'm hoping that something will be announced soon. He's training hard and he knows it's potentially there. So yeah, if Akib can get on there, Akib's doing a lot of sparring with Chantel.
Yeah.
Getting her ready for this fight. So ideally we'll get him on the undercard and he can get a slot on there and get some good exposure.
It's a whole team trip, Jamie.
Yeah, Jack Catterall's coming out there as well to support. He's been sparring with Shan as well, and yeah, there's a few coming out there. If Akib gets on the bill, he's got probably 50, 60, 70 people all on standby waiting to book flights and tickets and stuff. So yeah, it'd be good occasion.
If that isn't an incentive for it, I don't know what is. Obviously you mentioned Jack. We're still in the sort of the grey area on where this fight will go with Josh Taylor. If this fight doesn't come off for whatever reason that is, we understand they both want the fight, or we believe they both want the fight. Obviously from talks with you and obviously Jack, that Jack wants this fight to happen, but can we see Jack out anyway in another fight? Because arguably it's harsh on Jack for waiting this long.
Yeah, I mean, we did get told it was going to be November, then it was December. Now it's looking like it's going to be early next year. He could have got out in August. So it is a little bit frustrating, but listen, it can't be else. Sometimes these things happen in boxing. When you've been involved this long, I've been in boxing 30 years now, and you get used to it happening. Not saying it's not frustrating, but you just learn it's part and parcel of the game. I don't think he'll be out in between. If I wasn't hearing the stories from different party members and stuff about still wanting the fight, then I'd be a bit sceptical. But from all accounts, I'm hearing that Taylor's still mad keen on having the fight. Obviously, so is Jack, and they're looking to get the contracts wrought up and get a fight date nailed down, and we can all start preparing for it.
Yeah, because arguably Jack's now got more bargaining power in this fight because how well he performed. We all know what happened in that fight, but again, obviously you may not know, but do you understand why it's taking so long? We all want this fight. Everyone wants the fight to happen. Surely it's an easy process.
I think the fight itself is easy to do. I think the problem what we've got at the moment is that I'm hearing that Josh is moving coach, so he wants a bit more time to settle in with a new coach. So that's understandable, even though again it's frustrating from our point of view. I think at the time of it being sort of rumoured, it was around about 12 weeks, which is 3 months, which I feel was adequate enough time. But let's not overlook the fact that he's just got married. He's big for the weight, so if he's a little bit heavy, make sure he's got extra time, because I know going off the interviews he's done and stuff, that he feels like he wasn't 100% against Jack, which, you know, whether he was or not is sort of questionable. But the fact of the matter is, if he feels like that, then he's going to want to make sure, give himself the best opportunity to get himself in the best shape. And if that means he needs another 3-4 weeks, then so be it. But it won't bother us. Listen, Jack didn't box for 16 months before he fought him the first time. So it'll be 11 months by the time the fight comes around this time, roughly. So it's not an issue. You got to play with the cards you dealt.
Yeah, I mean, he has been keeping himself busy. Plenty of media he's been doing, a commentary at the weekend in Bolton, so he has been out and about. But again, I must speak about it, other things within boxing. First of all, let's talk about Saturday night. I was here last time with Shields Marshall, the first one. Now it's rearranged for this weekend in London now, obviously with the Queen passing during the first fight week. But how much do you think that would impact this fight coming up for both fighters? For the fact that they both peaked at the right time when it was last out.
Yeah. I think that's the main issue. The main issue is when you're aiming for a date during a training camp, you're trying to peak at the right time. It's who's come off better and sort of treaded water a little bit. Potentially, and the fight is overcooked. So I think it's who's managed that scenario better, because on paper this is such a close fight. You're talking about 2-3% margins. A delay like a 3 or 4 week delay, like what's happened, and then the peaking time of it can have a massive impact on that. So I've got a feeling it might impact Claressa Shields a little bit more because of the travelling. You've also got to take into account the time difference and the travel distance, and then coming back all within a short space of time. So it's not ideal, but it's not been ideal for both of them. But I think even more so for Claressa Shields. So it was a pick 'em, the fight, but I'd be edging more towards Savannah this time.
Yeah, I think we're all looking forward to seeing how that comes out, especially with this new Elizabeth belt which has come out. I mean, it'd just be fun to really have that one. But let's talk about last weekend. It was meant to be Conor Benn Eubank. I know you've had many interviews about this before, but let me just get you on record for our viewers. What was your initial reaction when the news came out that there was a positive finding for Conor Benn?
I was disappointed because I'm a big fan of Conor Benn. I was a huge fan of his dad, and that's the reason I'm involved in boxing. I used to watch Nigel Benn fight when I was a kid with my dad. So it's frustrating to think that, and I'm not stupid. I know it goes on in this sport, and I think it goes on a lot more than we actually understand, which is criminal. Because
has it highlighted this?
It's well, I think every time it happens, it highlights it, and doesn't make it any more disappointing or disgusting. But what can you do? Unless the overseeing governing bodies are insistent on everybody being involved in a program like VADA testing, then we're not going to get rid of it. We're certainly not going to get rid of it if the punishment doesn't fit the crime. And banning someone for 6 months who's a world champion if they get caught doping is absolutely irrelevant, because they won't box for 6 months anyway. So the punishment has got to be a long ban, at least 3 or 4 years. But I'd suggest you get caught doping, that's it, you can't fight again. And countries, overseeing governing bodies in different countries have to all be on the same page. So you can't have the Boxing Board of Control going, this guy's tested positive, so he's banned, and then him jumping on a plane to America and going to the New York State Athletic Commission and applying for a license, and them going, yes, I know what you can have one here. They've all got to be on the same page, and they've all got to be in agreement that if someone fails a drug test under their jurisdiction, then it stands all over the world.
There are saying reports that it could be up to a 4-year ban. Conor's 26 at this present time. 4-year ban obviously takes him up to 30. you know, how much is that going to impact his whole career?
So the punishment has got to fit the crime, and if you're going to do something like that, then regardless of how it's going to impact your career, the punishment, you have to own that. If I'm, if I go and rob a bank, and I get sent down for if I get caught robbing a bank, so if I go and rob a bank, and I get away with it, then I've got away with it. If I go and rob a bank and I get caught and I get sent to jail for 6 years or 10 years, then that's my punishment for doing something wrong. So I don't think, can we sit here going, but if they ban him, then it's going to ruin his career, because them banning him hasn't ruined his career. Him cheating has ruined his career. You can't you can't be having empathy for people because the punishment's going to fit the crime. It doesn't make sense.
And the way it was handled, let's say, I think majority of the public were great in terms of saying, look, we don't want this fight to happen. I think it was quite good to see the public in that way. But, arguably they've known about this for weeks before, obviously, fight week. How damaging was it, how it was handled by the teams?
In situations with doping, you've got to look at the evidence, and then you have to go, why is this in his system? Is there a legitimate reason? And then you can then start to maybe either, you don't condone it, or you go, listen, maybe this has happened. So you've got scenarios such as stuff like somebody fails a drug test because they've took too much caffeine. That you can fail a doping test for that. Or they might have took a supplement which has got an ingredient in it which they may or may not have known it's in it, and then their account of what's happened, you can then decide on whether, if you think that they've done it on purpose, then the punishment can be a bit more serious than if it was a genuine mistake. If, I don't know the ins and outs of this, so I'm only going off what I've read.
Yeah, I think everyone is, yeah.
If what is tested positive for is what has been spoken about, how do you explain that? How do you explain him having a women's fertility drug in his system? I'm imagining there can't be an explanation for that. And I did see the interview with Eddie Hearn where he said, Conor is going to release a statement soon and he'll explain the situation. I'm looking forward to hearing that, because I don't understand how you can explain how you've got a women's fertility drug. Now, if it's in a supplement or something, which I can't imagine for the life of me which supplement it would be in, then you can start building a reason or your excuse for it being in there. I just don't see, Canelo, we had the Canelo thing with the clenbuterol where he said he was in Mexican meat and everyone laughed. And that sounds like, even though it's far-fetched, even though it won't be the reason it was there, it's plausible. But I just don't understand how they're gonna explain this one.
There's been more. Every day there seems to be more and more stuff coming out about this. More attention now is teetering towards this Dr. Usman, who works with many fighters up and down the country. First of all, what do you know anything about this individual? I know his website's been taken down, so it's hard for us as reporters to know more knowledge about him.
No, I don't know anything about him except what I've read. But why do you use a doctor like that? That's you answer that question to me. You're a fighter, and you have a nutritionist, you have your strength coach, you have your boxing coach, obviously. At what point do you go, I'm going to go and use a doctor for what? That's a genuine question. Why? What do you use a doctor for?
Well, I don't. Well, again, you're training no more than me, but surely you have a medical expert, or your nutritionist gives you supplements, etc. Yeah, I don't know. Does every fighter have a doctor on site? I don't even know how it all works, mate. Really.
I don't know any of my fighters who have doctors. And that's another point actually. I seen Tony Sims' statement released, and people are sort of saying, he must have known. I wouldn't know if my fighters have got their own personal doctor. I know they've got nutrition. So Sam, who works with Jack, I know personally, and he works on his nutrition and gets it down to the weight safely. Akib's just started working with him now, and I have correspondence with him. I wouldn't know if any of my fighters are using a doctor. If any of them was doing it for the wrong reasons, then why would they tell me? Because they know I'd go, you fucking joking me, you're gone. If you're going to be doing that, you ain't training in this gym. So I don't think you can point the blame at Tony Sims or say he was, part of the issue if it gets proven to be true. But like, I don't understand why you'd have a doctor.
No, and it seems that he's not the only one to use this individual. And
and this is a genuine question. Yeah. I'm actually not saying you're guilty by doing that. I want to know the answers to the question. Why would you go to that doctor? So he's a specialist in hormone balancing and stuff. I want to know why an athlete goes to that doctor and says, I want you to help me. Help you do what? I not understand why they go to a strength coach, because they want to make them stronger. Yeah. I know why they go to a nutritionist, because this is a sport based around making weight. So they want to make weight healthier, so they feel better and they're stronger. Why do you go to a doctor about your hormones? It's a genuine question, and I want to know the answer to it.
Well, I think mostly, everyone wants clarity, and do you think we're ever going to get clarity in this position? Because this B sample, everyone's been going on the B sample again. You'll have the same point as everyone else. The B sample's the same.
I don't think we'll ever get clarity. We'll get the reasons or the excuses. That they'll come out with a statement and they'll say this is what happened, and then we'll all either say, well, that makes sense, or we'll say no chance, and everyone will have their own opinion. But this is what happens. It just sort of, everyone has an opinion about it. Everyone gets, the amount of people I've seen who are angry about this situation, but not just about Conor Benn individually in that situation, about the situation in boxing where nothing's getting done and the punishment isn't as strict as it should be. And this could be that situation because it was on such a big stage in terms of the fight itself. Really was only made on the back of the dads. It wasn't in the same weight division. It was so big because of the reputations. But then that in itself now has created them a problem because it was on such a global stage. Are the people who are governing this now going to turn around and go, we have to do something about this. We have to be seen to be doing something. Are they going to do it? I don't know. They didn't do it to Canelo. They gave him 6 months and then that was it. And it gets swept under the carpet, and it's happened numerous times in the past. And at some stage, if we are going to make this sport better, someone has to make the choice of making the punishment fit.
Does it put, because obviously you've got casual fans, you've got hardcore boxing fans, does it put many people off the sport? Does it put...
Good question. That's a good question because it's making me question my want to be involved in this sport, because I don't want to put my fighters in a position. Everyone knows, or people involved in boxing know my concerns about the dangers of this sport, and I'm very aware of protecting my fighters. I've pulled my fighters out of fights when I know they didn't want to be pulled out of fights, but it was the right decision to make, and it's a fucking tough one because you live the life with them day in, day out, and you know how much it means to them. So to make a call like that is a big call. Situations like this make me then go, do I want to be involved in a sport where if what I'm starting to believe is true, and these are fucking hell of a lot of people doing this, then do I want to be putting fighters in a position where their opposition has got an unfair advantage of them in the most dangerous sport in the world? That's what it makes me question.
Well, again, following on from that then, will it make you again when you go? Let's say,
I tell you what. If the punishment starts fitting the crime, then maybe yeah. But as time goes on now, and I'm looking after fighters, and I'm thinking, my son is having his first fight in a few weeks, 17 years old, and this has actually come at a time when I'm then going, okay, now my son's just starting out in this sport. Do I want him being involved in a sport where he's going to be putting his life on the line anyway, and then even more so if he's in there with someone who is more likely to be able to cheat because it's not being policed properly? It's a fucking horrible thought. I don't know. I really don't know the answers.
Yeah, I think one of the main things we've touched on it is the fact how much it's highlighted, and so much is coming out now, and you do question yourself or question. There's loads of things going on in terms of questions. Was Conor Benn always? He's never gone for VADA test, but previously, was he always doing it? Again, there's so many answers that need the questions that need answers, Jamie.
Moral integrity in sport at the lowest level is great, and then it seems that the higher up you go and the more money involved, it sort of gets less and less, and you shouldn't ever take that away, regardless of the amount of money involved, when people's lives are on the line. If you're a 100-metre sprinter and you're cheating, morally it's wrong because you're gaining an unfair advantage, but you're not putting anyone else's life at risk except yourself, really. So in a scenario where it's boxing, it's got to be policed properly, and the punishment has got to be real. Otherwise, it just makes a mockery of our sport. Surely other sports are looking at this situation now, and they're going to wait for the outcome. And then if it's pitiful, if it's 6 months or even 12 months, they're going to go, what? So you can basically do whatever you want in boxing, and then there's no repercussions of it.
This individual came out before anyone to condemn this fight, and that was Eubank Jr. Came out and tried to get everyone to boycott the fight.
Why?
But that's what I mean. That's what I'm asking. Do you think there was some other thing with it? Yeah.
Was he aware of this adverse find, and then using the weight as the excuse in the reason what he was saying? I didn't actually see him say it, but I just seen it as a statement came out saying he's fearful for his son's safety, and he shouldn't take the fight. But was he talking about the weight, or was he talking about the adverse find? I don't know if he did know, then that would make sense.